Namandab, 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 namandab.
Good morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for Eshinni and Kakushinni Day service, either in person or virtually via Zoom. On this day, we honor Eshinni-sama, the wife of Shinran Shonin, the founder of the Jodo Shinshu Honganji tradition, and her dedication to Shinran, and also their youngest daughter, Kakushinni-sama, who was Shinran's caregiver in his later years and who, 10 years after Shinran's passing, established a memorial hall for his remains. A resolution to establish an Eshinni Day was adopted at the 1978 World Buddhist Women's Convention in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Later, at the 8th World Buddhist Women's Convention, a resolution to promote world peace and to designate Eshinni Day as Peace Day was adopted. And then again in 2002, the World BWA passed a resolution to similarly honor Kakushinni-sama. Without the contribution of these extraordinary women, the Jodo Shinshu Honganji tradition would not exist. The BWA continues the tradition of women playing a major role in the Honganji temple around the world and in our communities by sponsoring this service annually. I am Elaine Nakagawa, and I will be your MC. Assisting at the temple with technical support are Zoom crew members Alan Matsumoto, Lynn Katayama, and Joey Guzman. Corinne Chong is our organist. Let us start the service with an offering of flowers by Fujie Chishita and Shigeko Nakasone. Offering of lights will be done by Nora Koyanagi and Janet Lindner. Please rise and let us chant the Vandana and Tisarana. Please chant both the Pali and the English parts together with Reverend Blaine. Those of you on Zoom, be sure you have your mics muted.
Namo tassa Butsunamanda, 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 Butsunamanda.
Please remain standing for an aspiration which will be shared with by Reverend Blaine.
We gather this morning as friends in the Dharma, as fellow travelers along the journey of life. Today we honor Eshinni and Kakushinni, who are the wife and daughter of Shinran Shonin. We reflect on their sincere devotion to the Nembutsu path and how it is only through their efforts that we are able to receive the gift of Shinran's profound teachings. They truly live the spirit of Jishin Kyoningshin, of securing one's own entrusting heart to great compassion and guiding others to the same path as the way to respond to our indebtedness to the Buddha. Let us endeavor to listen to the Buddha Dharma with not just our ears, but with our entire being, and strive to embody the teachings in our thoughts, through our words, and by our actions. May we always take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows us the way in this life, the Dharma, the way of understanding and love, and the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Entrusting in the dynamic activity of all-inclusive wisdom and all-embracing compassion, we call the honored name of Amida, the Buddha of infinite light and life, in gratitude, joy, and awareness for the enlightenment and the life to come. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.
Please be seated. It is now time for offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Please use both incense burners. Let us observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Reverend Blaine will now lead us in the chanting of the Sutta, Hymn in Praise of Buddha. Words can be found on page 112 on the Red Joshinshu service book and on the screen.
The Buddha of infinite light and life made vows to embrace all beings equally without exception. These vows promise to create a perfect world where no suffering or evil exists and guides us to supreme enlightenment. The Sambutsige, or Hymn in Praise of Buddha, is a poem from the larger Pure Land Sutra, in which Amida Buddha, as Bodhisattva Dharmakara, praises his teacher and makes his 48 vows to establish the Pure Land of Enlightenment for the welfare and the happiness of all beings. We chant the words of the Buddha as a reminder of these great vows made to awaken and to liberate all. The Hymn in Praise of the Buddha. Your face shines in great splendor, boundless one with dignity, such the greatness of your light, beyond all comparison. Brightness of the sun and moon, and the shining mani jewels, when compared to your brilliance, seem to us like blackest ink. Tathagata's countenance transcends all comparison. The great voice of awakening resounds through the 10 quarters. Your precepts, learning, effort, meditation, wisdom are virtues beyond all compare, ultimate, supreme, and rare. Your deep meditation has fathomed witness your great virtue. Vast are your great virtuous deeds, wisdom deep and so sublime. Your radiant luminous light shakes all the world's foundations. When I become a Buddha, equal to the Dharma King, I will transcend birth and death, liberating all beings. My giving disciplined mind, precepts, patience, and effort, meditation and wisdom shall be supreme, unsurpassed. I will attain Buddhahood, everywhere fulfill my vow, bringing to all those in fear great peace and tranquility. Though there are myriad Buddhas, beyond measure, beyond count, and great sages numberless, like the grains of Ganges sands, I will honor each of them, equally accepting none. Even more importantly, I will seek the supreme way, even though all Buddha worlds are countless as Ganges sands, even though all lands and realms are boundless without measure, yet my light shall reach them all and illumine every place. Such shall be my perfect work, such my power infinite. When I attain Buddhahood, my land will be first and best, place of practice transcendent, its people sublime and rare, land equal to nirvana, beyond all comparison, with pity for everyone, I will carry all across, all who come from 10 quarters, to be born into my land, to attain pure joyful mind, peace and great tranquility. Be my witness, Buddha, please. Confirm my sincerity. Now that I have made my vows, I will strive to fulfill them. Buddhas of the 10 quarters, with your wisdom unhindered, may all of these honored ones know my deepest intention, even though my body must bear great pain and suffering. I will persevere and diligently without regret. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namanda, Bunamanda, 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 Bunamanda.
Please rise for the singing of the Gatha Namu Amida Butsu. Words can be found on the handout and on screen.
When life is fair and sunlight fills the day, when fortune smiles and flowers adorn our way, oft let us pause with grateful hearts to say, Namu Amida Butsu. In our waitings, neath a darkened sun, and to our love once been drawn nigh. Our tears may flow, yet trustingly we cry, our grateful hearts shall soar.
You may be seated. Today we are honored to have as our guest speaker Rev Charlene Kihara. Reverend Kihara received her Bachelor of Arts in English from the University of Hawaii in 1981, a Master's in Social Work in May of 2001, her Tokudo, the minor ordination, in July of 2016, a certificate in Shin Buddhist Studies in May of 2022 from the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley, California, and Kyoshi ordination in August 31st, 2022. Reverend Kihara lives in Honolulu and was employed in the judiciary system, the Aloha Nursing, the Ohana Health Plan, and presently assigned to the Hompa Honganji Hawaii Betsuin. Please give a warm aloha to Reverend Kihara.
Thank you, everybody, for your gracious welcome. Let me read an aspiration. A famous teacher passed away and left this poem. If you miss me, say Namo Amida Butsu, for I too live in the Nembutsu, light of the Buddha. In other words, if you have any questions about death or dying or where I am, say Namo Amida Butsu, and that's where I am. And you will also realize that's where you are too. This is from Taitetu Uno. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be your Eshinni Kakushinni and also Lady Takeko Kujo Day. I am Reverend Charlene Kihara, and I'm serving as a minister at Hompa Honganji Betsuing and with the headquarters. I received my Tokudo in July of 2016. Then in May of 2022, I received my certificate in Shin Buddhist Studies from the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley, California. Finally, in August of 2022, I received my Kyoshi certification. It has been a long tabi, a long journey, as I have walked the Jodo Shinshu path to serve the Honganji as a minister and share the Dharma with you today. I'm glad we can meet together in person. When Reverend Blaine asked me last year to be your Eshinni Day speaker, I was so happy to accept his kind invitation. The BWA holds a special place in my heart as my grandmother, my mother, and my aunts were members of the Temple Fujinkai. I remembered as a child following my mother and grandmother as they helped with the bazaars. Today is a unique service, mainly because we honor, along with Eshinni and Kakushinni, our dear lady Takeko Kujo. In the Jodo Shinshu faith tradition, Shinshu Pledge 1 is recited. I follow the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path. I will spread the true Dharma. Spreading the Dharma is the way to propagate the Jodo Shinshu tradition. Lady Eshinni and Kakushinni have filled this maxim of spreading the true teachings in their devotion to Shinran Shonin. Lady Eshinni was with Shinran in Kyoto and Inada as the devotees gathered at Shinran's home to discuss and learn the Dharma. Kakushinni, valuing the lessons taught by her father, wanted to ensure that Shinran's legacy and our Honzan, Jodo Shinshu, Honganji-ha continued through succeeding generations. The 21st Monshu's daughter, Lady Takeko Kujo, helped to spread the Dharma in her book Muyuge, a collection of poems she wrote. Her unselfish actions in helping the soldiers on the front during the Russo-Japanese War were a morale booster for the troops. It's good to see you all, since it has been a while since I last saw you. I last saw you at the anniversary of your temple last year. Now it has been about 3 years that the world has suffered from the effects of the pandemic, shutting our temples and imposing rules for social distancing. However, this year is celebratory as the Honganji commemorates the 850th year of Shinran's birth and the 800th year of the founding of Jodo Shinshu Honganji-ha in a joint event. Let us reflect on this past and be thankful for all we learned during the pandemic. Let us also reflect on the lives of Shinran and his first Nembutsu followers, Lady Eshinni and daughter Kakushini. So I made a small slideshow presentation to show you some scenes. The flower cherry blossom is significant in Jodo Shinshu tradition. The cherry blossoms represent Shinran Shonin. When Shinran Shonin was 9 years old, he took his ordination to become a Tendai monk. So at a certain temple, Shoden-in, which is a Tendai temple, Shinran Shonin took his ordination. So the cherry blossoms represent Shinran. This is a picture, a painting. I know there's a color painting, which I saw, unless I imagined it, but I know there's a color painting. But this is Shinran Shonin's ordination. Today is a unique service, mainly because we honor, along with Eshinni and Kakushinni, their descendant Lady Kujo. The devotion that Lady Eshinni showed to her family is legendary. Eshinni, born 1182 and died 1271, is the mother of Jodo Shinshu. Eshinni was the wife of Shinran Shonin and was committed to the welfare of her family and servants. She managed her family's lands in Echigo, now Niigata, Japan. Shinran Shonin, who was born in May 21st, 1173, and passed away on January 16, 1263, is sometimes called the father of Jodo Shinshu. Shinran lived during the turbulent times of civil unrest, disease, and natural disasters. The Kamakura period in Japan was a nascent period for Buddhism, where many Buddhist sects developed. Shinran Shonin founded Jodo Shinshu by transmitting what he learned from his teacher Honen Shonin and the seven masters. Shinran created an innovation on how to invoke the Nembutsu, reciting the name of Amida in gratitude for Amida's compassionate vow. The Nembutsu is a name that is called in gratitude to Amida and reveals Amida's great compassion. As I read to you Sensei Uno's quote, the Nembutsu can be said at any time, Master Shonin, Master Shinran realized this truth, and it is part of the Jodo Shinshu legacy that Shinran left for all of us. Shinran's life was validated in history's eyes because of the letters from Shinran's wife Eshinni to the youngest daughter Kakushini, found in the Honganji-ha archives in the 1920s. The imperial court punished Shinran and Honen by exile due to policies against the Nembutsu. These were views that were held by the court, and other Nembutsu followers were executed. Shinran married Eshinni while he was exiled in Echigo, and they had 7 children. Lady Yoshiko Otani wrote her book, The Life of, of Eshinni, wife of Shinran Shonin. Okay, let me page. Okay, I'll come back to this slide after. Oh, oh, I think this is the book. Yeah, this is the book. Lady Yoshiko Otani wrote her book, The Life of Eshinni, wife of Shinran Shonin, based on these letters that were found. Up to this point, Shinran and Eshinni were mythical figures that seemed to be legends. In these deeply personal letters, we can see the devotion and concern that Eshinni held for her husband and family. In the letters are glimpses of the people's lives during the Heian Kamakura period. Lady Eshinni was devoted to her family. Eshinni is the mother of Jodo Shinshu. Eshinni was the wife of Shinran Shonin. She managed her family lands in Echigo, now Niigata, Japan. Eshinni was from an aristocratic family. From her letters, she had several servants. She was responsible for overseeing the lives of her servants and ensuring the health and welfare of her workers. The life expectancy of ordinary people was not long during the late Heian and early Kamakura periods. In Eshinni's lifetime, there were at least 3 periods of famine. During the Japanese medieval period, there was the Great Kamakura earthquake. Internecine wars also occurred between different political parties, the imperial court, and other religious sects. Because of the many wars being fought, the men and boys from each village were conscripted to be warriors. The women were left to manage the farms, craft guilds, and various businesses in Kyoto and throughout the country. As a Kamakura lady, Eshinni was self-reliant, independent, and a good manager. She taught her daughter, Kakushini, to be the same way. In one of her letters, she shares her wishes with her daughter, Kakushini, that she would like to see Kakushini and her children. Eshinni realizes an in-person visit is impossible due to the circumstances. In her letter, Eshinni passed on her knowledge of managing an estate and caring for her workers to Kakushini. Eshinni reassures her daughter Kakushini when Kakushini expresses her disappointment in not seeing unique death signs upon Shinran's death. Eshinni explains to Kakushini that she does not doubt Shinran's birth in the Pure Land. So let me explain a little bit more about that kind of thinking at that time. During that Kamakura and Heian period, the early Buddhist time, um, dreams, dream interpretation, and things like that were kind of important to the people. That's how they could understand at that time what was happening around among for themselves. But when Shinran came along, there was a difference. Shinran said that the Nembutsu is not to evoke a god or spirit, but gratitude for what we learn from Amida Buddha. Okay, let me read to you about her devotion. In one of her letters, Eshinni talks about a dream she's had about Shinran and Honen. In one, there was no face to the Buddha image, but only a core of light, as it were the radiance of the Buddha's head. Distinct features could not be seen, and light was the only thing there. In the other, there was a distinct face to the Buddha image. I asked what Buddhist images these were, and the person answered, I have no recollection who the person was, and said, the one that is only light is none other than Master Honen. He is the Bodhisattva Seishi. When I asked who the other was, he said, that is the Bodhisattva Kannon. That is none other than the priest Zenshin, who was Shinran Shonen's. When Kakushini, born 1224, was 9 years old, she moved to Kyoto with her parents. She was the youngest child of Shinran and Eshinni. This is several years ago. Um, this is the actual funeral site of not funeral site, but mausoleum site of where Shinran is, and I'll show you what the original site was. But this is members of the BWA, Hawaii BWA. We went for a convention in Kyoto, and we were taken on a tour of the mausoleum site. So this is the mausoleum site. Oh, okay. This is the what I'm going to be talking about next about Kakushini. This is the hexagonal structure that was made for Shinran Shonin's remains. This is the original site. Kakushini was the youngest child of Shinran and Eshinni. As a teenager, scholars say that she served in the court of Kuga Mishiteru and married her first husband, Hino Hirotsuna. Her oldest son, Kakue, was 7 years old when Hirotsuna passed away. Kakushini took care of Shinran after returning to Shinran's home with Kakue. Kakue remained with his mother until he was 9 and began training at the same place that Shinran was ordained at, Shoden Inn, which is a Tendai temple. Kakushini, while taking care of her father Shinran, had to deal with the significant illnesses of not only her father, but members of her family and her servants. Kakushini cared for Shinran until, until he died on April 16, 1263, at the age of 90. 3 years after Shinran's death, Kakushini married her second husband, Onomiya Zenin, a disciple of Shinran. When Onomiya passed away, Kakushini inherited his lands. However, he left it to her discretion if his stepson Kakue would inherit the properties or his son Yuzen would. Instead, Kakushini gave the Onomiya lands to Shinran's followers on condition that members of Shinran's family would hold the position of Rusushiki, protector of the ancestral halls. Kakushini served as the first Rusushiki until her death at age 60. Kakue was the second Rusushiki, and after him, his son, Kakunyo, became the third caretaker. During Kakunyo's time, the title of Rusushiki changed to Monshu, and the duties became administrative. So, from this hexagonal structure, this site was built. This is Kakushini's stone monument that's on that grounds. The picture on your far right is um, the actual altar at Eshino Sato, which I will be showing you. Sato is a museum and temple dedicated to Eshinni. I put this book here as a reference point about medieval Japan and also about Eshinni and Kakushini. So if you're interested, you folks can do some research. So Ishino Sato, this is the museum site. This is the actual grave site of Eshinni. So you're going to notice on this side, there's a stone sort of thing with a little triangle on the top. That's the actual Eshinni's haka, her monument. Yeah. And the tree that's in the background, that's actually the Magnolia cobus. This is the temple of the Ishino Sato, and I'm at the altar. And the two paintings are actual tiles that they painted, and they're the Magnolia cobus plant and the flowers. Ishini is here serving tea to Shinran. This is a kind of her symbol of her devotion to Shinran and um, to the Jodo Shinshu sect. She acted as hostess. She acted as even as a mother would. I keep mentioning Lady Takeko Kujo, right? And you must be thinking, who the hell is that, right? Okay, I'll explain. Lady Takeko Kujo, several years ago, the BCA and I think other Jodo Shinshu temples decided to honor Lady Ishinni and Kakushini's descendant, Lady Takeko Kujo, because she was like, for our Red Cross, it was Clara Barton, right? Who was the Red Cross head, headed the Red Cross. She was Japan's starting the services like that, social services. Lady Takeko Kujo, she was born 1887 and passed away in 1928, was the daughter of Monshu Myono Otani, the 21st Monshu of the Honganji Ha. Her older brother was the 22nd Monshu, Kyonyo Otani. Lady Kujo followed the example of service set by her ancestors Eshinni and Kakushinni. She was the sister-in-law of Lady Kazuko Otani, Monshu Kyonyo's wife. She and Lady Otani created the Buddhist Women's Association, or the Fujinkai, in 1904 during the Meiji period. The organization came about because of the Russo-Japanese War, the Nichido Senso, 1904 to 1905. It was a welcome relief for the soldiers on the front line. They sent care packages and provided services and a source of encouragement for the fighting men. In addition, the Fujinkai would administer to the needs of the wounded soldiers and the families of the soldiers. Lady Kujo also started the Asoka Hospital in response to the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923, which devastated Tokyo and the surrounding areas. Asoka Hospital still exists today. At the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, Asoka Hospital was one of the few hospitals in Japan dedicated especially as a COVID treatment center. Furthermore, Lady Kujo established Kyoto Women's University in 1920. That's a picture of Lady Kujo and her book, Leaves of the Heart. This is the earlier book I had mentioned, Myo Yuge. Lady Kujo was a prolific writer, playwright, and poet. She was an accomplished Meiji-era belle and embraced Western fashion. Lady Kujo's famous poem from her book of essays, Muge, was turned into the Gatha Seiya, or Splendor of the Evening Sky. Let me read the poem to you. Splendor of an evening sky, who can ever fathom the timeless mystery? Million eyes, when sparkling bright in the sable sky, touch my heart, my lonely heart, with serenity. More than all the countless sands Ganges rivers holds are the infinite Buddhas who fill this universe, ever watchful over us throughout day and night. Hearing this, my lonely heart fills with lasting peace. In the poem, Lady Kujo compares the stars to the countless Buddhas. Although hopeful, the poignant words of the poem reflect the loneliness that Lady Kujo felt in the last years of her life. Her dear friend and sister-in-law, Lady Kazuko Otani, had passed away about 10 years earlier. Lady Kujo and her husband had no children. Still, Lady Kujo left a legacy in the Buddhist Women's Association, the BWA. Although Lady Kujo's husband remained in England, Lady Kujo returned to Japan after only 1 year abroad. We can only guess that Lady Kujo was not happy in her marriage. Eshinni, Kakushinni, and Lady Kujo, whom we celebrate today, are the mentors for Jodo Shinshu women worldwide. If Eshinni and Kakushinni had not exchanged letters and the scholars had not found the letters, the world would still think Shinran's life was a story. Kakushini was devoted to Shinran, and after his death, she became the caregiver of the family mausoleum. Lady Kujo followed in her ancestors' footsteps, Eshinni and Kakushini, and dedicated her life to helping others. Her book of essays, Muyuge, Flowers Without Sorrow, serves as her aspiration to relieve the world's suffering through Amida Buddha. Eshinni, Kakushini, and Lady Kujo are inspirational women who are exemplary in their service to the Jodo Shinshu community. Thank you for listening to my message today. Let us put our hands together in Gasho. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Thank you, Konahon Kanji, for listening today. Thank you.
Thank you for your Dharma message, Reverend Kihara. Susan Takiue will lead us in unison reading of the Creed 1. Words can be found on page 4 in the red Jodo Shinshu service book and on the screen. Please join her in reciting the words out loud.
Thank you, Elaine. Please join me in the unison reading of the Creed number 1. We rely upon Amida Tathagata with our whole heart for the enlightenment in the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings, and giving up the trust in our limited self. We believe that the assurance of birth comes at the very moment we entrust, and we call the name Namu Amida Butsu in joy and gratitude for the Buddha's compassion. We also acknowledge gratefully the benign benevolence of our founder and the succeeding masters who have led us to believe in this profound teaching. And we do now endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. We will now have the offertory presentation. Mahalo for your generosity, everyone. Please stand as we conclude this service with the singing of the Gatha Nembutsu.
Namo Namandam, Namandams, Namandams.
You may be seated. This concludes today's service in honor of Eshinni and Kakushinni. Here are some announcements. The Hawaii Island chapter of the Hawaii Association of International Buddhists, or HABE, Buddha Day service will be held next Sunday, March the 12th at 9:30 a.m. here at the Kona Honganji. This year's theme is Buddhism and mental health, and the featured speaker will be clinical psychologist Dr. Bart Aoki, who is the son of the late Kazuyoshi and Ethel Aoki. He will speak on resilience in our lives. The service will also be available on Zoom. Please register for the Zoom link by clicking on the link which Reverend Blaine attached to his weekly update email. A hanamido, or the miniature floral altar with a figure of the baby Buddha, will be decorated for this service. Therefore, we are asking anyone with flowers in their garden to please share them with us. All types of flowers can be dropped off on Saturday, March 11th until 6 o'clock p.m. They can be placed in buckets of water which will be left outside the conference room here at the Kona Honganji. Please encourage your family and friends to attend this service and support our local homegrown guest speaker. Remember, the service will start at a half hour earlier at 9:30 a.m. Thank you. On Sunday, March 19th, we will be observing Spring Ohigang service at 10 a.m. Guest speaker then will be Reverend Satoshi Tomioka from Puna Honganji Mission. Regular Dharma family services will be held on Sundays, March 26th and April 2nd at 10 a.m. Be sure to open and click the attachment and interesting links that Reverend Blaine sends out weekly in his email. If you have not done so yet, please pick up your pre-ordered 2023 Hompa Honganji Mission of Hawaii calendars, 125th anniversary souvenir booklet, an appreciation gift, and free COVID test kits. That 125th anniversary merchandise items are also still available for purchase. Are there any other announcements? Reverend Lane? Anyone else?
We're going to have all these wonderful services, but the end of the month, we have no guest speaker, just a regular family service. So if you have ukulele and you would like to play after service and refreshments, bring your ukulele and let's all play together. We'll do some songs, and if you want to learn some picking, we can do some picking also. It was just like a fun get-together. Do it. So the last service of this was the 26th, I guess. Yeah. So bring your ukuleles. You want to bring your guitar? I think Jules can play guitar. I can play a little bit, so we can do that too. But let's have fun. A kana kapila after church, after service here. Thank you.
Dr. Bart Aoki is here with us today, actually. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Those of you on Zoom, click on the Leave Meeting button when you are ready to leave. Those of you in person, refreshments will be served in the conference room. A big mahalo to Janet Blinder, Linda Nagai, Shikeko Nakasone, and anyone else. Thank you very much. Remember, the HABE Sunday service will be at 9:30. Which is a half hour earlier than usual.